there is one thing that took over my life this year, it is Elden Ring. I couldn't stop. I played it for 14 hours a day. Every day. Thinking about Elden Ring while I eat, work, dreaming about Elden Ring. Yeah, it was bad. But that is because it is fucking amazing. The visuals, the huge landscape filled with life, secrets to explore, the concrete walls that disappear if you hit them 50 times to unlock a secret area. But best of all, the boss design. Well, yes, being the hardest game I've ever played, and having this man right here being the bane of my life for a whole 2 days, the fight is incredible. His attack patterns, his movement, it is a cinematic masterpiece. And for the last few days, it's had me thinking, can I make a boss that follows similar practices and elements in Unity? Well, you're going to have to find out for yourself. Spoiler, yes. And no.
What does that even mean?
And yes, before I see any speculation in the comments about my gamer skills, I beat the game 3 times, as well as killing every boss in the game, including Millennia, so I expect no slander in the comments.
You stink.
Hey guys, Blakey here and welcome back to another video. Yes, I know you sitting there shook that you're witnessing 2 main channel videos within the space of 2 months, but here I am, don't say I don't spoil you. So what was my plan to recreate a boss fight in the infamous Dark Souls format? Well, my plan was to create an enemy that 1, looked menacing, 2, had multiple attack patterns, 3, had different attacks depending on the distance between it and the player, and 4, give it a stupid amount of health and make the player a 2-hit, because it wouldn't be a From Software game without damage scaling from hell itself. And 5, make a core arena to add to the menacingness. So in pure Blakey video fashion, I opened up a brand new fresh project to add to the archives after I'm done with this video. So the first goal was to get the camera system working. We needed a system that follows the player as he moves, but looks at the enemy at the same time. So I pulled a pro gamer move and whipped out Cinemachine to do the legwork for me. And as you can see, it works fantastic. Well, let's make the player move first. And now. Alright, hold on. There we go. We got there in the end. Well, I mean, we kind of made it. It looks better later on, okay? Just bear with me. So we needed to alter the movement so it's dependent on the camera. So if we move forward with the A key, that is forward in the direction of the camera, not in the player and global scale. So in this case, moving forward would be going towards the enemy as that is the direction the camera is facing. Just a little bit of gamer code and, you know, this was pretty easy to set up.
This is amazing.
So obviously, right now, what we're looking at isn't very menacing. So it's time we construct some sort of enemy. Now for efficiency reasons, he's going to get built out of shapes directly in Unity, but we will disguise it with enough visuals that it looks scary enough. So it was time. Insert time lapse of scary build. Alright, I think we are there. Oh wait, a little bit more. Oh, and the eyes. And there we go. Now let's just alter the code a little to make our new guy the target and... What? Alright, now we're back in business. I made working code to force the enemy to always look at the player, and now we're getting somewhere. Also, I am aware our guy is just holding 2 cylinders currently, but this does look better later on. But I think it's time we put them to good use, rather than just have him hold them, menacingly. So I'll give him some attack patterns, as well as a slight delay, as Dark Souls and Elden Ring is famous for giving players time to prepare for enemy attacks.
No time at all.
And this honestly came out pretty well. Honestly, what the actual fuck. I also made this animation, and for some reason, the path it took to get from one keyframe to another was just really long-winded, and decided to spin a few times and just clip through the body. And, you know, I just decided to keep this as a feature because it just looked kind of cool if you close your eyes. Then we had this one, which may be my favourite, as you just viciously jab the player because you can. So to pick between this animation in code, I used a random number generator that's called whenever the player is within range. And one of the 3 animations will play depending on the number that's chosen. This could be expanded for as many attacks as you want as well. But, you know, I'm not doing that.
Why the hell would I do that?
And as you can see, this works as intended. Obviously, we may or may not have some minor scaling issues, but, you know, we're getting there. And I can feel the menacingness increase as we speak. I went back and forth for a while in an attempt to fix the scaling issues, changing animations, changing scales, and me and the prototype ended up coming to a bit more of an agreement. So, you know, it's better than nothing. So then I had this. I swear, this game had so many cursed bugs. I could genuinely make a video on just the bugs in the games I've made for this channel over the past few years. Anyway, this happened because I wanted our enemy's head to rotate towards the character on all axes, so the body is more rigid, but the head always looks at the player, to give the sense that he's kind of looking down on the player. And yeah, this was the result. But we did fix it, and that is what matters.
Bugs.
You may also notice I made some slight changes to some visuals, such as a skybox or some altering to our enemy's left hand weapon. I do change this again as I never really liked this weapon style at this point, but it looks pretty good in the end. Also, I feel like we need a name for our boss, so drop a name you think he should have in the comments. I'll officially set my favourite name in stone for him. But enough about the big weapon. What is that you see in the other hand? Well, in Margot's fight, he has these daggers that he just absolutely launches at you if you're far from him. And I kind of wanted to replicate this. I use something known as event systems, a really cool feature in which you can trigger a function at a certain keyframe in an animation. So I triggered a function to spawn in a throwable at the point when you would let go of something, so it looks like the enemy throws it at you. So very slowly but surely, we were getting an Elden Ring boss fight together, but there was still a lot of work to be done. Now it was time to make our player a bit more player-like and you know, give him a head and even an arm if I'm feeling nice. So I gave him a weapon to defend himself with, but with the angle of the camera you couldn't actually see it. And that is when I realised I wanted the camera to be at a slight angle, and I think this did help. After pairing this with rotating towards the player was looking a lot better. Alright, not quite, but let's make a player attack and then we can fix that rotation. So the difference between player patterns and AI patterns is player needs to be responsive. Nobody likes games where it takes a hot minute before your character responds to a button input.
I'm tired of waiting.
So we made 2 attacks, both being sharp and snappy with very little anticipation. And with that, we have a big leap in our prototype. Both the player and our boss can fight and actually have some sort of life in them. But what they don't have is death. So it was time for some health bars. So I went into Photoshop and made some very simple health bars for both sides of the battle and imported them in. With a little bit of code, we can now finally replicate the ridiculous difficulty and damage scaling present in Elden Ring. In the process, you can see how I somehow managed to make a surfboard. Please do not ask how this came about. I was tempted to keep it as a feature, but maybe that's for another video. But anyway, with this fixed, both sides could now deplete to 0 health. I also added in some camera shake because there is no game on earth that couldn't benefit from some camera shake. There is a bunch more flair I could have added to this game, but the main premise was creating the boss fight, not pools of blood everywhere, so let's move on. I also added a little dodge mechanic so our player could, you know, dodge. And this was super helpful actually. The movement is slightly slippery, but this weirdly works well with our dodge in the way it was coded. I used the same idea I used for this game, made nearly 3 years ago now. You can't say I haven't progressed. Basically, we ramp up the speed a bunch for a fraction of a second and then set it back to its normal speed after. So that was the player's extra mechanic. But what was going to be our enemies? Well, I created a little system in which there's a small chance the enemy will teleport to a new position and just absolutely launch a throwable at you, adding a little bit of variety to his attacks. And finally, I created a slight second phase in which his attacks are much faster, so that's always fun for our player. If you want to give the game a try, by the way, let me know in the comments and I'll drop a link. So from this point I added some new visuals, a proper looking arena, some rain and of course a death screen. The classic "you died," a screen that had to make it into the game, as without it, it would not be a Souls game in any regard. So now, let's take a look at the final fight. Well, there you have it. I've played Elden Ring, I've made Elden Ring, and I have a 100% win rate against bosses on both versions. So you may now call me the Elden Lord of the game development space on YouTube, and I challenge anyone in this space who thinks otherwise. But on that note, gamers, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did, and I'll thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.